Did you know that Downing Street is named after a spy? George Downing was a spy. It's fairly hilarious what's going on over there, isn't it? Those geese, they're in charge, okay? They're not breaking the rules. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but a certain rebranding has been taking place over the last year. What used to be known as the New World Order, a term that has become highly suspicious due to the sharing and the freedom of sharing information over the years, has now had to be replaced with a new term which is spreading the globe in all the international think tanks and all the main players, with the term the rules-based international order. The rules-based international order. But what are these rules and who makes them up? Something I was quite interested in, and after a little bit of digging I can divulge the rules of the rules-based international order. Sovereignty and non-intervention and no altering of borders by force. No use of force without Security Council approval. Non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. An obligation to combat terrorism. Maintaining an open, non-discriminatory world economy. Mitigating and adapting to climate change. Promoting human rights and democracy. Safeguarding access to the open global commons, which means maritime, airspace, outer space and cyberspace domains. Of course, what this is really doing is drawing the battle lines, the new battle lines on planet Earth, which will be fought over the next generation. One of the more hilarious things, actually, in this whole national security defence review that the world powers have been doing is in the American document they say that one of the big threats is the threat from Russian propaganda, and the way they say they're going to be combating Russian propaganda is by the spreading of unvarnished truth. Pretty hilarious. In Britain, they're already forming a new system to deal with Russian propaganda. The BBC. The BBC Broadcasting House. This is the first time I filmed today, by the way, so I'm just waking up. It's bloody freezing today. The BBC still have their paedophilic statue on the front of Broadcasting House by Eric Gill, the notorious paedophile. They refuse to remove it, apparently. They don't want to remove it. They like it, probably. But the BBC, quite interesting in the National Security Review, that they do talk about the BBC World Service, which is nowadays based in Broadcasting House. Because of austerity, they had to move out, so they're in BBC Paedophile House here. And in the National Security Review, it's really quite interesting. I remember seeing once, I think it was the American Congress or something, who was saying that, oh, Russia today are a real problem because they do a Russian state message in English language, and what we're really missing is a kind of Western-focused message in a Russian language. And that is essentially exactly what the BBC are starting to do. The National Security Review tells us very clearly that they're investing £289 million in the BBC World Service, so they can start doing lots of new digital news broadcasts, one of which is in Russian language. But I guess I'll read it to you so it sounds specific. We are also investing £289 million over the next 4 years in the BBC World Service to bring high quality and impartial news to an even greater number of people around the globe. Impartial news, based on the fact that this is under the heading or under the chapter National Security Objective 2, protecting our global influence. So it's just an agreement that the BBC World Service are a section of national security, and they will be protecting our global influence by offering programming, TV and digital bulletins and new programming for Thailand, the Gulf, North Africa and Russian-speaking countries. So impartial, strategic national security in Russian-speaking language. Thank you very much, BBC. Thank you for lying for your entire careers. There's some interesting phraseology in some of the literature about the rules-based international order. It says that one of Britain's new global roles is to help persuade potential adversaries of the benefits of cooperation. And the rules-based international system is about encouraging predictable behaviour by states. Certainly, really, if you have a good understanding of British history, you can really get your head around stuff like that. The capital square in London, Trafalgar Square, is all about the Battle of Trafalgar, when Britain defeated the French and Spanish navies, and it was done heavily against the odds. The only reason that the British won was because they violated international law. You see, they were absolutely sure that the French and the Spanish were going to be adhering to the internationally recognised agreements on naval warfare, that they managed to defeat them because it made France and Spain very, very predictable. And Britain, of course, completely violated the law by doing some dirty shenanigans out at sea. It brought about Britain's supremacy on planet Earth, and only by really making sure that all other states were lawful, and that made them predictable and easier to defeat. What's that funny light? Oh my god. That wasn't on a minute ago. They're watching. Oh god. This is the National Cyber Security Centre. I've been here before. I made a video called The Government's New Leak Plugging Facility. So I've been here before. But I didn't quite understand this building when I came here before. I was making an insinuation that the front of this building and all the way around all these pyramids are significant because it's basically part of the control system. And you could have thought, well, Sam's making a bit much of that. I mean most buildings have pyramids, and it's one of the most natural shapes that you can have in a building, isn't it? Well, yeah, that's true. And then I've come back, and they built the bar for it. I don't know whether it's actually open yet, but just check out the bar and just tell me if you can see anything significant. Decorated pretty heavily with triangles, It's definitely a theme of the building. The one thing I didn't understand properly about this building when I came here initially was that I mentioned that it was designed to kind of combat propaganda, online propaganda. And then since I made that video, like, the whole world has gone mad on conspiracy theories about Russian online propaganda and how we're going to battle it. But of course, they decided to build this building bloody years ago, so it just goes to show how ahead of the game they are. They're just now rolling out, creating the panic that is precisely designed to work well with the machinery that they have already built. So there we go. You still can't get too close to it. It's all still sort of cordoned off, but it's going to be opening up quite soon, so I'll probably come back here and stalk them once again. Shall I cross the road here? I probably should cross the road here. I wanted to read a little bit about cyberspace that is relevant to this building, and how the new policies are operating in terms of national security. There's been a lot to say that we need facilities that are offensive military cyberspace units, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I think this is actually part of the military. I mean, it's next to Little Ben. Surely nothing could be bad next to Little Ben, could it? The UK and our allies have been successful in ensuring some elements of the rules-based international system are in place for cyberspace. There's been agreement that international law applies in cyberspace, and we're working through the UN group of government experts to further strengthen and embed a common understanding of responsible state behaviour. In the past year, we have reaffirmed international agreement that human rights apply online as they do offline. Hence, people are being sent to prison for what they say on Twitter. And of course, any realm, whether it's real or cyber, needs an enforcement team. And hey kids, that's what this building is. It's the internet police. You're a paranoid idiot. Why don't you do something worthwhile with your life? Why don't you get a job? I almost forgot, actually, while I'm in Victoria, there is something I must check out. 911 Grosvenor Gardens, which is near Victoria Station. It depends whether you know this area, but that's the Grosvenor Hotel just outside Victoria Railway Station. 911 Grosvenor Gardens is the business premises of the ex-MI6 agent who formed the intelligence document exposing Donald Trump as some kind of Russian agent. Interestingly, obviously he's gone missing, nobody knows where the hell he is. Interestingly, outside the business premises, like a load of shredded documents. I mean, God, we should swipe those and then, buy 16,000 rolls of sellotape and go on holiday for a week in the Bahamas or something. Interestingly, I think the most interesting thing about that whole Russian agent Donald Trump ex-MI6 agent thing is that while the guy was working for MI6, he was for a while working undercover inside the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the SCO, the Foreign Office, the thing that Boris Johnson is now in charge of. So that makes me think it's obviously just a routine thing that MI6 have undercover agents in the Foreign Office. Of course, he doesn't work there anymore, but it does beg the question, do they always have at least one of them in there? Do they always have a spy in the Foreign Office? The Foreign Office, confirmed, riddled with spies. And it makes me wonder how many of these government departments down here, the Treasury, the Foreign Office, Downing Street, the Cabinet Office, the Home Office, no doubt, how many of them are riddled with spies? You can call me paranoid, and just like a lot of people have said on my films quite recently, haven't you got anything better to do, you paranoid idiot? Why don't you get a job? That sort of thing is quite common nowadays on my movies. But you don't really have to dig too far to find out that there's something extraordinarily suspicious going on in Britain. No doubt there is something extraordinarily suspicious going on in America. What we think of as the world model for democracy, truth, accountability, and all of that lovely, wonderful stuff, the thing that through the rules-based international system is being pushed to be adopted in all of the other nations is in fact just a compromised, illegitimate, unelected and covert military system designed to take over the planet.